Are you concerned about all this corruption being misgendered as conspiracies? Well, don't you worry. Sit back, relax, and join in the conversation as we talk with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I am joined with Irwin Morrow, who is a Cornish farmer, and he is here to discuss his background in farming and also to discuss the current state of affairs both in the UK and in Europe. So welcome to the channel, Irwin. It's lovely to have you here.
Hello, Chris. Yeah, nice to be here.
Brilliant.
I've even got my, oh, here we go. Yeah, Back British Farming t-shirt on. So
Brilliant.
I think, yeah, if you can find one, go and get one somewhere.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll give you a bit of a background about myself and what we do here on the farm. My dad was in Northern Ireland and he moved to Cornwall back in 1980. And we started off with 130 acres. We're now farming, nearly 800 acres. And we've got 500 cows now. And there's probably 900 animals in total with the cows followers as well. It's quite, it's a very intensive dairy unit. Yeah, it is. Yes. And maybe I could send you some pictures of the farm and the buildings and stuff that we house our cows in.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of people would look at it and think it's quite an intensive dairy farm, but actually I look upon it as it's a 5-star hotel for cows because they want for nothing. They've got the best food they can eat. They see we have the vet comes every fortnight, does a routine visit, checks out which cows we think needs to be done. You have somebody that comes once every 3 weeks to trim their hooves and stuff. All sorts of things like this. And the nutritionist comes every fortnight, make sure that everything's nutritionally is right for them, so they're not under any stress.
Perfect.
The buildings that because we moved into some new buildings about 5 years ago, purpose built, set up for the number of cows we got. And we went into all of the designs for ventilation and cow comfort. Cow comfort was top of our thing that we wanted to achieve. Yes. So, but the problem is these days, people see the sort of farm that I've got and think, oh, that's unnatural for the cows. That's not right and stuff. But actually, when you dive into it, you can see that it's actually the cows are incredibly happy. They're probably more happy in the sheds than being out on a wet, windy day, standing next to the hedge in a field. So
well, to be fair, it's probably much like us. We started off in caves, and we're now used to the creature comforts of a home with heating and stuff. So I can't imagine cows are too dissimilar to that, really.
No, they're not. They're not too. The thing you'll find about cows is they're creatures of comfort, creatures of what's the word? They like the same thing done at the same time every day.
Routine.
They're very boring animals, really. So if we can sort of do that for them and make their lives happy, give them everything that they want, then it's like the old saying: you look after them and they'll look after you. So
that's right.
But yeah, I'll send some pictures over to you later on. And
yeah, perfect.
Okay, so that's what we do here. It's a very intensive farm. There's a lot of some of my friends that I talk to, and when you talk to them about money, they've got normal jobs and stuff, but they don't quite understand, or they can't get their head around the fact that when they're talking about £100, that would be the equivalent of £1,000 to me, or £10,000 when you're talking about buying like a tractor, for instance. Buying a tractor these days is you're looking at 170,000 pounds for a tractor. It's and it's just scary, the figures that go behind it.
I can
So
imagine, yeah.
yes, but yeah, that is quite. It's always fascinating when I talk to my friends who are not in farming about money and about all of that. But I think that's the same with anybody who's trying to run a business and do it successfully. The level of money is so much higher than it ever used to be.
Yeah.
The level of investment you've got to do is so much higher than it ever used to be. So yes, yeah. So that's basically me and what we do here. You want to know about what's going on in Europe, I guess.
Yes, and kind of how the government incentives are either driving farmers or because I've heard like it's gone from £80 an acre to not grow food to £250 an acre to not grow food, which to me is
Yep.
an absolute scary thought, and it kind of tells me all I need to know about the government and where they're trying to take us, because to me that makes no sense.
Yes. Yes, it does. From my personal point of view, we're here to grow. We want to produce food for people to consume. That's what I
Hmm.
want to do. I don't want to have my land in environmental schemes. It's not what I want to be a farmer for. Um, I can see the advantages of some farmers. They're getting towards retirement. They've got nobody wants to take the farm on. Why not? You can't blame them for wanting to do that.
No.
But you are right. Yes, it is. Yeah, we went to a meeting the other day run by our local seed company. They're called Agri. And in that meeting there, they were saying about uh, putting in, I think it was like a crop of wildflowers.
Hmm.
So, and like you said, it equivalent. You bring that back. The time you've actually planted, you've got your outgoing costs. So the time you planted that, and what you get back, your gross margin is about £250 an acre. So, and an interesting fact that came up in one of in the meeting was um, a chap there said, "Well, for people that are renting land, you've just set a minimum price per acre now, because if I go to another farmer and say I want to rent some land, he said, okay, well you need to pay me £250 an acre because that's what I can get by doing nothing for it.
That's
So
right. They've set the standard.
they have, and like you say, it. You know, you can go back 10 years. You could rent land for, like you said, £80 an acre 10 years ago, and now it is creeping up, and yeah, it's up. It is up now, sort of 180, £200 an acre. But like you say, when this scheme comes in, it will be £250 an acre. Otherwise, you won't get it.
Absolutely.
So
And have you
I
heard
try.
that also with this scheme that that I think it's hand in hand, so the £250 an acre, but when the farmer dies, the farm is then taken over and becomes government property. It doesn't get handed down to the family. Is that something that you're aware of?
Uh, that's not something I've heard of.
Oh, right.
Um,
Okay.
I um, I know that, yeah, when you look into China and stuff, you know that's how they work it over there. Everything goes back to the state when you die. I have heard that that's something they want to do, but I
Right.
haven't heard that
Okay.
that has actually come into force yet.
Right.
Um,
Okay. I
so,
think it may have done, but I can't say 100% sure.
but that would only be on if you entered into that scheme. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right, right. I really don't know. If that was the case, I would think farmers wouldn't do it. You
Well, I
know,
think that there is a big backlash to this. I mean, I'm friends with Mark Byford, who runs the Ark Project, who's kind of like one of the main people behind this whole No Farms, No Food campaign.
yes,
And so
yes,
I'm getting a lot of my information from that neck of the
right,
woods.
right, okay, okay. Yeah, like I said, I've not personally heard that, or yeah, it's come up in any of the meetings that I've been to. But
Okay.
these days with the government, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me what.
No,
So
that's it.
But
That's it.
but in Europe, there, that from what I understand, because this came up in the meeting that I was at the other day, um, the reason that the farmers were so up in arms and stuff and protesting was not only was it they wanted to take away the different price between the agricultural diesel and the diesel you can buy to put in your car.
Hmm.
Um, I it's probably, yeah, agricultural diesel is about half the price of what it is for regular car diesel. So they wanted to take that away. But I think another big thing that they're, especially in France there, that they were really dead against was the fact that half of their, when they were growing crops and stuff, half of their agrochemicals was going to be taken away. When they were growing like a crop of wheat, for example, it would be a case of they weren't allowed to use any chemicals on that wheat crop until it had got to a certain growth stage. So,
Right.
and the growth stage they were talking about was almost, I think that was like mid-June. So if you've planted it in, well, like a wheat crop there, you plant it in the autumn, you wouldn't be able to do anything to it really, apart from put some fertilizer on it until June time, and then you harvest it in August. So, um, and of
And
course,
what's the point in that? Why have they gone down that route?
of banning that,
Right,
um,
okay.
they it's for the environment, I suppose. That's
Hmm.
the thing that they're talking about. Um, although that by doing that, it would mean, well, you can see exactly, the farmers would get less crop. So would they be able to make a living at that? Also, there'd be less yield, so there'd be higher food prices,
It's a
perhaps.
lose-lose, really, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So, and also in Europe, there, I think there was in France there was a certain percentage of the land had to go into organic farming as well. I think
Right,
that was,
okay.
I think by 2030 it had to be 25% of all land into organic. Well, I've got nothing wrong with people wanting to be organic, but that's a choice.
Yeah.
You
And
look
it
at the
and it
figures, you
comes
look
at
at
a
the
cost.
yeah, yes, it does. Yes, we've got an organic neighbour village away or so, and he needs twice as much land for the same number of cows as what we do.
Mm.
Um, so if you want to be organic, you're going to need twice as much land. So it's, uh, roughly that's how it is for dairying, anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are trying to well, they are. They're trying to eliminate meat, aren't they? By 2030, they don't want farms breeding cows or lamb. They're trying to do away with red meat because they're saying
That's
that
right.
that's what's
Yes.
screwed. It's
Have
such an
have
evil
you
agenda.
have you heard of an organisation called UK Fires?
I've heard of them, but I don't know too much about it. In fact, somebody was just talking to
Right.
me about it.
Okay. Well, UK Fires. I saw a video on this well, probably 12 months ago, and I had a look into them, and um, I photocopied this off last night. UK Fires is a 5-year research program funded by £5 million by the UK government. So basically, they're looking into reaching. Um, it wasn't just net zero; it was absolute zero by
That's right. Yeah.
2050. So, and I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you seen that little chart before?
I have
It's on
Sandy
there.
Adams. Are you familiar with Sandy Adams?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Oh,
she went to the Glastonbury Council meeting around about this time last year, and she
right, right.
explained all about the UN and their agendas and whatnot. And that's how I came across that graph. She actually sent it to me yesterday. So yeah,
Right. Yes.
that's where they're
Yes.
trying to ban
So
shipping from like certain times.
yes. Yes. That's right. Yes. Yes. Um, yeah. So basically, by 2030, for agriculture, anyhow, for beef and lamb to be reduced by 50%. By 2050, no beef or lamb whatsoever. And it's got transport, it's got rail, it's got housing, it's got everything on here. What they wanted to do, and this is a government-funded organization. So when the government say, oh no, this isn't correct, we don't want to do any of these things. Well, it's just nonsense. You've paid £5 million to somebody, and this is I think it's an organisation. It covers. Where is it here? Is it 5 universities?
Yeah.
Yes, Cambridge, Oxford, Nottingham, Bath, and Imperial College London. So it's worth going on there and having a look.
Absolutely. I think all that is also on the government website underneath Agenda 2030.
Right. Yes. Well, as we all know, Chris, it's us. We're the carbon they want to get rid of.
Of course it is. Of course it is. We're the cattle.
Yes. So
do you see much pushback from the farmers with any of this?
Well,
as in local to you?
Local to me. Everyone talks about it, and everyone sort of says, this, the climate scam is what it is. It is a scam. This, going back 20 years, when this all first came out, global warming and all of this, and I, believed like everybody else did that it was a scary time in the future, that things were going to change, and then I've spent, because being a farmer, I'm sort of at the forefront of it, and I sort of looked into it, and then you find people to listen to, and some of the YouTube videos that I watched there with Professor William Happer. Have you heard of him?
That name? No.
William Happer is he's well known for being like there isn't another person on the planet that knows more about the CO2 molecule than William Happer.
Okay.
So and he says, and he's done experiments, and he showed graphs there that basically, if you can imagine, the graph goes up like this and then it levels out, and that's what the effect CO2 has in the atmosphere. So between 0 and 400 parts per million, where we are at the minute, it will have an effect of about, I think he was saying, it's about 0.75 of a degree. But if you double from 400 to 800, the effect is it might be another 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree. He said it basically, and this is very easy to see, it's like taking a white house, painting it red. With the first coat, it goes pink. With the second coat, it goes red. And it doesn't matter how many more coats of red paint you put on, it still will be red. And that's very similar to the CO2 molecule. Once it's had its effect on the atmosphere of its warming, the effect on the atmosphere and stuff, it can't do it anymore, no matter how much more you put in there. So it's definitely worth listening to.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
it also amazes me how people, a lot of people, even the politicians that push this, they don't even realise what the percentage of carbon in the air is. It's something like, what is it, 0.004%? Well, if it drops below 0.2%, life stops.
Yes, growing. That's right. Yes. I talk to people who believe all this stuff, and I said, we had our climate crisis. It was the end of the last ice age when it got down to 0.285 or something, and we were so close to no life on this planet. But and now, and you can see there.
They say that the planet's greener now than it's ever been.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
And the coral reefs are much more replenished than what they've ever been before, and that's thanks to carbon. Yes.
Since 2000 until 2020, an area the size of North America has greened on this planet. So that's did somebody say that was like, I think it's 15% of
Yeah,
the Earth's covering has greened, all thanks to
exactly.
CO2. Well, CO2 is a gas of life, and without it,
Exactly.
and but you can. All I always say to people, follow the money and find the truth, and that's all you
Yeah,
have to do.
100%.
You've got people there like was it Al Gore? When
Oh,
he
mm,
when he ran for uh, he was vice president, wasn't he, in America, and he ran for president to be president, and I think
that's
his
right.
net worth then was like 2 million or something. Well, his net worth now is
In
it's
the billions, I
you
should
know
imagine.
yeah, yes, it is. It's like a hundred million or something.
Mm.
It's and you just have to look at where these people live. Barack Obama bought a beachside property in uh, Martha's Vineyard. It's only a couple of feet
That's,
from the above sea level.
exactly.
But
So
then
if
with
this global warming was really going to happen, these properties wouldn't be able to get insurance.
exactly, we wouldn't be able to insure London. There'd be no
No,
properties in London be able to be insured. But
exactly.
it's we all know what it's about, and we've all watched channels like yours and others and stuff, and we can all see that it's about power and control.
Absolutely,
So
100%. And depop.
yes, and depopulation. Well,
Yeah,
yes, they had a go at doing that, didn't they? With the
yeah, they did. Yeah, exactly. Tagging us like cattle.
yes, 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 it is. But uh, and it just with the C word, shall I say, when that all came around, and I did what most people did, and it went because we were told if you want to look after your grandparents and your parents, you want to protect them, go and get injected.
Mm,
Um, and I've got two, my parents are in their 80s, and I thought I was doing the right thing, but actually, you know, maybe not. But
I mean,
what
are you okay as far as you've had no complications?
um, I have felt I I have been to the doctors and had a full heart and chest and all of that X-rayed and ECGs
ECGs.
and all, yes, and all of that, and it all came back fine and stuff. But
Oh, that's good.
I did feel a bit. I just had real tightness in my chest for some time there. Yeah, just really concerned about it and stuff. So
And
hmm.
it was just the two
The two,
uh,
two
inoculations.
no, three.
Okay,
No, I managed. They filmed me 3 times.
okay. What's the old saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Yeah.
Filmed me twice.
Look,
Shame on
look.
you.
So many people took the bait.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
But having
I
said
don't blame anyone for doing it. I was just lucky that
no,
I was
no,
awake from like 9/11, so I
right,
steer away. But no,
right, right.
it's
Well,
done
yes,
now.
yeah. Well, like a lot of people, it was like Neil Oliver was saying, he woke up when it came to the COVID
Mm,
um, thing that was going on, and a lot of people have, and I was one of
mm.
them. But
COVID's been
it
a
was
blessing, really, from
yes,
the point of people waking up quicker. They
yes, yes. I
overplayed
think
their hand.
yes, I think it backfired on them a little bit,
Mm.
but yeah, yes, it did. So, do you want to move on to
Yes,
talking
let's move.
about this the letter that we had from Shell McCauley?
Yes,
Um,
please do.
So basically, I'll send you a copy of this if you like. But
Yeah,
yeah,
please. Yeah.
it's a neighbouring farm to me, and they're looking to put in, I think it's 200 acres worth of solar, 49 or 50 megawatt solar farm with battery storage as well. And apparently, it will produce power for 12,000 homes annually. Um, Although some people, you can actually I've seen some videos there where how they calculate this figure, and it always falls short. It
course
never
it does.
produces what they say it does. Yeah, and basically she's saying that we should support this. It's even though the farm itself is between three villages, and all three parishes have said we don't want it. We don't want this at all. And basically she's saying no, it's a really good thing. It's good for the environment. It's good for, they've even put in here. They're going to, yes, where's that? I think it's something about they're going to plant wildflowers in under the solar panels, which, as far as I'm aware, wildflowers need the sun to actually grow, and if they're in under solar panels, they're not really going to do that much. And then it was saying about in 30 years, the farm will be returned to agriculture use again, and
once we've killed everyone off because they're so hungry, we'll start again.
And they were saying that the soil quality will have improved a lot because it will have had these wildflowers in for 30 years. Well, yeah.
I thought it was things like cow poo that improved the soil quality.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're not wrong there, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's got involved with that. And I've heard through the grapevine a little bit that there's if this development goes through of 200 acres, there's a council farm the other side of the road that will be heard through a few people and stuff, that if this one goes through, the council will then jump on the back of that, because this farm here will put in all the infrastructure. I think there needs to be a bit of a substation going in to actually connect it to the power grid. So if that goes through, then the council farm next door will then put solar in and then piggyback off of what's already been done.
And have they also told you that you're liable for anything that goes wrong with all that stuff?
That we're liable?
Yeah.
Well, as consumers,
I know, like farmers who have this stuff on their property.
Oh, okay.
I know of people like the wind farms, and they've had things on there, and they says, right, anything goes wrong with it, you're liable. So
right. No.
I think they get paid something like £12,000 a year to have this stuff on there, but anything goes wrong, it's on you.
Yeah, it's £12,000 an acre. Yeah.
Yeah. But you hold all the liability.
I don't know. We've never looked into doing it on our farm. Like I said to you, we want to produce food,
Absolutely,
and that's what we want to do. So, yeah. But moving on from that, there's another. I'll send you this map as well, and this is sort of the other side of my village, and it shows a map here of. And this is between my village and another village of St. Stephen's. So it's not, it's not a great distance. It's only like a mile, 2 miles or something like that. And it shows that there's, on the map here, it shows that there's 300 acres of solar already there. And also on the map, it shows areas that there's another, I think that's about 200 acres there that has been approved already. And then there's another area here that shows 300 acres that's in consultation, so going into planning. So if you look at that, there's 300 acres already. There's another 200, so that's 500, 6, 7, 8, 800 acres there between two villages that could be potentially in solar farms.
That's horrendous.
And again, and like you say, they're paying £1,200 an acre for it. For people who want to produce food and produce and rent some ground, I can't compete with that.
No.
You can't make enough money to compete with that. So you just
it's becoming a moral issue rather than a financial issue now, isn't it? It's
yes.
Oh, it's such a horrendous situation to be in for any farmer. My heart truly does go out to you guys.
Yeah, because it's not easy farming. It's working hard, and although I've in September there I broke my ankle on the farm, and yeah, it was a real nasty break, and I've tried to do as much as I can since, but it's just, I can't work a full day, a
No.
full farming day. Like, I can, I normally start work at about 9 o'clock now, and I can get through to about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and that's about it now. But before, being on the farm and stuff, you'd be starting, you know,
When the
before six
dawn.
in the morning. Yeah,
Mm.
before 6 in the morning, and you go through to 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, and that was a normal day sort of thing. So,
And I imagine in the cold
um,
it aches,
yeah,
which
yeah,
doesn't help.
yeah, it does a little bit. Yeah,
Mm.
yes. So, but yeah, well,
So
it
what?
is a
How do
hot.
you see? Come.
No, no, no. Carry on.
I was just going to say. So how do you see the future of your farm? Are you hope optimistic?
Um, well, we have, like I said at the start there, we moved our cows into a purpose-built, buildings, and we sort of we future-proofed our business, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
we
yeah.
had to spend, we spent a lot of money on it. It's in the, you know, I'm not going to tell you exactly, but it's definitely it's well above £1 million, and
Mm.
it's if not £2 to £3 million. Um, and that was an investment over 50 years, but whether we'll be allowed to get there by the government in 50 years, I don't know. But you
Well,
you
I think
always
this
think
this is the choice now, where farmers are going to have to, if we want to break away from the tyrannical governments, you're going to have to forget all the red tape, and the farmers and the community together are going to have to unite as one.
yes,
I
yes,
want to see far more farm shops than supermarkets. I
yes, yes,
That's where it should be. Local farms providing for their communities. I've always been dead against mass farming on an industrial scale. That's not good for the
yes,
animals. It's not good for us because of what they pump the animals with, what they put in the animal feed, just to get them to this state where they can mass produce. So I would much rather eat less meat but have better quality meat coming directly from the farmer than I would going into Tesco's and picking up some
yeah,
crap
yeah,
from New Zealand.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We always, we butcher up an animal, one of our uh, beef animals. We butcher one of them up, once a year and put it in a. We got a big chest freezer outside, and we
Hmm.
we put it in that, and that does what we need to do. But it's a lot cheaper for us to do that because we don't have to buy it in the first place. You just got to pay to have it butchered, so to
That's
speak.
right.
So,
Yeah.
um, but the problem is, Chris, that as farmers, we've been forced down that road of of bigger farms, and because that was the only way to still stay in farming, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, we've all got these overheads and bills to pay, and the more you get, it's like being in a friend of mine said, once you get in that hamster wheel, you can't get out of it. Once you start down this route, you're stuck in it, and you've got to continue on it. And the only way to stay ahead of it is to get bigger, produce more, get bigger, produce more, get bigger, and produce more. It's kind of how we've
Yeah.
been big, and going back 10, 15 years ago, it was about producing, food as cheaply as you could. Uh,
Yeah. That's it.
that's where you were forced to do it, I suppose. And then um, the only problem that we've got now on the farm is because we produce, we send a lot of milk away. It's probably we produce 15,000 litres a day of milk. Well, to actually sell that yourself through a farm shop, it could never happen. It's that's you imagine seeing 15,000 litres in a piled up in front of you somewhere. It's an awful lot of
Quite a
milk.
lot. It is.
Yes.
It is.
So, but no, I do agree with you. You know, you need to be eating good quality, locally produced food. It's the
Absolutely.
best thing for everybody. I always tell my, I've got some friends there who are London people and stuff, and they care about the environment and all of this business and stuff. And I've said to them before, I said, if you want to do right by farmers and the environment and stuff, I said, you know, go to your local butchers, go to your local farm shop, buy local, buy local stuff. It's
Absolutely. I
better
mean,
for
it's
you. It's better
ridiculous
for
that
the
it's
environment.
cheaper. It's ridiculous that it's cheaper to buy meat that's been imported from New Zealand than it is to buy meat from just down the road.
Yeah, yeah,
It
exactly,
baffles me.
exactly.
It really does baffle me. And why is it
Yes,
so much cheaper?
it's you know, there's. I think every country in the world, every farming country in the world is subsidized by
Mm.
in one way or another. So it's. I suppose the government, say the government in New Zealand look at it as, oh well, that's a good export revenue for us, so
Mm.
we'll help it a little bit along the way. So, but yeah,
Until they stop
go
the shipping.
until they stop the shipping. Yes,
Even the Chinese have stopped exporting as much rice because they know what's coming. So they're keeping
yes,
hold
yes,
of more than what
yes,
they would normally have.
yes,
The,
yes,
the
yes.
signs are there.
Um, an interesting thing going back to the protests in Europe there. One of the other things that the French farmers were really mad about was the fact that grain was being imported from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it was being imported cheaply to undercut what they were doing. And
Hmm.
also, what they were really mad about was the fact that in Ukraine, because they're not in Europe, they don't have to adhere to the standards of, you know, uh, chemicals that are used to grow the crops and all of this. So they were put, they were putting on cheaper chemical products that weren't passed that were aren't allowed to be used in Europe, and then the grain was just being shipped in, and they were really
Mm.
really mad about that. So, and then it goes back to when you look at the war in Ukraine and you think, you know, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. So whoever controls that would control the food supply.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yes,
It's unbelievable how much corruption.
yeah, all about control, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
It is. It
So,
is.
but yeah, what we do about it, I guess we just do it, keep doing things like this. If we can wake a few more people up by doing it, all well
That's
and
it. It's
good,
about
isn't it?
educating people, isn't it? And it's about doing things, waking people up on a local level as well. So, like, I
Yes,
know that they're in Suffolk near me because I'm Norfolk Suffolk border, and that's renowned for their farming. So they're now going to start doing like arranging some kind of protest as well,
yes, yes.
bringing
I know
close to the roads.
yeah, I know the the Welsh farmers. They're mad as hell. I know
Mm.
they
Well,
really
you've
are.
got Gareth Wyn Jones, who's a big
Yeah,
voice in all of this, haven't you?
yes, yes. I don't know if you saw uh, the video there from there was a local market there, and all of these Welsh farmers were in this market, and there was thousands of them.
Mm.
Thousands of them there
Yeah.
came to hear people talk to discuss what to do because the Welsh government are they're a different breed than you think that we're all in the same country and stuff, but actually because you've got the Welsh government and they control what happens to the farmers there and stuff. It's they're having a far tougher time than what we are here
Oh, yeah.
in England here. I've seen other farmers like have you seen Ollie Harrison from up in near Liverpool? Does
No.
YouTube called Ollie Blogs.
Okay. I'll write that down.
He's involved with the NFU as well, and he's kind of saying, he can see where the Welsh farmers are, they've got a reason to be upset. But he said, actually, in England here, it's not as bad. It's not quite as bad as what it is in Wales, and it's definitely not as bad as what it is in France and Europe there. So he said,
But we also don't want it to get to that point before we
no,
act.
no, no. But he was sort of saying, do you want to upset the public if you haven't really got a really, really valid reason for being out in tractors and blocking roads? And it's a real difficult one to know exactly what to do and stuff. Real difficult one.
I think the public would be behind the farmers a lot more than perhaps many people would think.
Right.
Because a lot of people know
Yes.
what's coming. A lot of, I think it was David Icke that coined the phrase, if you know what the final destination is, you can spot the clues along the journey.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so a lot of people are waking up to what the final goal is. And so all these things which are put into place, people are now saying, oh, that's happening because of this. Oh, and if that happens, and that will have a knock-on effect, and this will happen. So I think people are a lot more awake to the situation than a lot of maybe some farmers realize.
Yes, 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 you could be right. Yes. I suppose as farmers, we just, we spend a lot of time on our farms. We don't get out and about and talk to a lot of people. And I suppose we don't really know how to gauge what people feel and stuff with regards to farming and stuff. Because you always used to hear, years ago that, a lot of people thought that, farmers were just, rich people that drove around in their big tractors and Range Rovers and stuff. Well,
no, that's just Jeremy Clarkson. But to be fair, he has brought so much light on the corruption.
He's done more. He's done more for farming than Countryfile have ever done.
Absolutely, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, do you have people come onto the farm? Because I think it would be good for people to be able to walk around a farm and see what happens in the processes, and so people get this first-hand educational trip.
Yes, yes. We did back about 5 years ago when we first moved into our new buildings for the cows. We did one of these open farm Sundays, and we had about 300 people come along, and it was really good, really good. We had our vet was there as well. Our nutritionist was there, and we had them we had all these different, and us as a family members as well. We were placed all around the farm, so there was kind of like a route that you went on. You go down through one building and up through another and into the parlour, and then you could see some calves, and there was some machinery there and stuff for people to actually. You could drive a tractor and all that sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
And so we had people along the way, all the way around, just saying a little bit about what this does and what that does, and the reasons we do this and the reasons we do that. And I think a lot of people were sort of blown away a little bit with I don't know whether
a lot of people think a lot of younger kids just think meat comes off of a shelf off a supermarket. They've got no idea of what goes into it.
Yes, yes, yes. And also I was going to say, people didn't understand just how technical farming is. It's you've got to be, well, one day you've got to be a mechanic and be able to fix something. The next day you've got to be able to, be a midwife and deliver a calf or something. Figure out, being a vet, figure out what's wrong, being a nutritionist. Yeah. There's just so many things that you need to sort of be good at to be a good farmer.
That's right. So a wide skill set.
Yes.
No,
yes. But you were mentioning like a planner there. Were you meaning as in trying to get planning permission to build something? Because that's becoming tricky.
Yeah, I can imagine it is. No, I just meant more like, right, I need so much of that in this crop to get this. I need, more of the everyday things that maybe it doesn't come under planning, but
Yeah,
If
I
you
know.
want to do a
Yeah,
good job, you need to plan it out.
yeah, running the farm, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, you definitely do need to be that. But actually, going to the planning side of things, it's becoming very difficult to sort of get planning and stuff. You've got to jump through so many hoops with regards to, surveys for this, that, and the other and stuff. And the latest thing they want now is ammonia surveys. You know,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Any livestock buildings, you've got to be able to know what the ammonia levels are in it and what their it's not CO2. What's the other gas? Methane.
Methane.
Yeah.
Cow
Yes.
farts.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to be able to measure what that is and the impact that's going to have, and
See,
yeah,
all
all
that
of
is
that
just
business.
time consuming, money wasting. We've
Yes.
we've gone through millennia not needing to worry about all that rubbish.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and when you look at the level of uh, methane in the atmosphere, and it's 0.00017. Now, even if you say that that is 30 times more, has more effect on warming than CO2, when you times 0.00017 by 30, you still don't even get, it's still an incredibly tiny figure if you equate it to CO2. And we all know that CO2 doesn't really do a lot anyhow. And the methane cycle, it lasts about 10 years in the atmosphere. The cows put it out, it goes up in the atmosphere, it turns to CO2, comes back down again, and the plants use it up again, and it goes through the cow again. It's a natural cycle. It's always been there.
Everything's a natural cycle, but the powers that be are trying to demonize everything about our existence.
Yes, yes,
And that's what it
yes, they
boils
are.
down to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen those videos there saying about, back in the 70s, it was about global cooling. And then it was about 10 years later, it was acid rain. 10 years after that, it was the ozone. Then it was climate warming, climate change then. All
Climate
of it,
crisis. Climate
yeah,
boiling.
climate
Just
boiling.
goes on.
All these things to actually increase your taxes.
Yeah, that's all it is, isn't it? It's the levies. I mean, I've
Yes.
seen videos where you've got a glass of water full with ice in it, and then you time lapse it. The ice melts, but the water doesn't go over the side, and it's the same with the oceans.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's more cobblers being thrown at us.
Yes. Yes, it is. I've
But what
seen.
baffles me is the intelligent people that fall into this.
It seems to be, and I've always said this. Um, the more brains somebody has, the less common sense they seem to have.
Bang
So,
on.
I've got a chap that I know who's he's a young guy, and he's convinced the world's going to end in 10 years' time. He's convinced that it's going to go past the point of no return, and through his GCSEs he got all A stars. Very very smart guy. I didn't like to tell him that all he was really good at was
Is
listening to what they
remembering.
say, remembering it, and putting it out at a later date.
Yeah.
I didn't like to tell him that because that would burst his bubble.
But it's
But
true, isn't it? They're just regurgitating what they've been taught, and there's no
yes,
actual critical thinking or self-thinking involved.
yes, yes,
And
and
that's why
and
they can't
um,
argue with you.
and and he's even worse because he's a vegan as well.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I try and tell him about it and stuff. And you know, I've watched more videos there about the benefits of eating meat and how your brain needs a certain level of fats and this, that, and the other. And
Exactly. I had somebody on my show yesterday
yeah, I saw
talking
that.
about the day. Oh, you did? Okay. And he was
Yes, I
saying your
watched that.
body
Yeah,
is designed to digest these. That's why it produces acid to dissolve what it needs. That's not for plants.
yeah, yeah, yes. And it makes you think that, like the guy you had on yesterday, when he says that, and most of us know that that is correct, and then it makes you think, well, why are the government saying, or the powers that be, and especially Bill Gates, why are they saying, this is something that you shouldn't have, it's bad for you? Why is that being pushed for? Yeah, ever
Because they
since
want
I,
to make you
ever since,
weaker.
yes, yeah. So yeah, they want you unhealthy.
That's the thing.
You can see the link between. Um,
The last 3 years.
well, no, I was going to say the link between having the food companies working in step with the pharmaceutical companies.
Oh yeah,
One
yeah.
tells one, you make the people unhealthy, we'll cure them to a certain level, and then we'll put them back on your food again, and you make them unhealthy again. It just seems to be, it's a win-win for them, isn't it?
That's it. Big Pharma don't create cures; they create customers.
But the more you sort of look into it, all of our food is any of it any good?
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
That's,
You think by eating, lots of fruit and vegetables and nuts and all of this, you think, well, I'm going to be, that's good for me. But actually, the guy that you had on last night said, maybe not.
mm.
So
It is scary. It puts you in a quandary, doesn't it? Because you literally don't know what to do for best. It's like, do I eat this? Don't I eat this?
yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Yes, because I know you were saying last night, you love eating pork and you wouldn't want to
mm,
give that up.
I
So,
wouldn't. But it seems like I'm gonna have to buy my own pig.
well, you could
Because
do, yes,
that's the
just,
only way you're going to do it, isn't it? It's if you want to know what you're eating, is you're going to have to grow it yourself
yeah, yeah,
or rely on
yeah,
decent farmers who haven't been compromised to grow it for you,
yeah,
like yourself.
yeah, yes, yes.
But
Yes. Well, I've spent my entire life drinking milk straight from the tank. No pasteurization, nothing like
yeah,
that.
see, I'd
And
love to do that. Apparently, there's a farm shop in Norfolk somewhere that sells unpasteurized milk.
right,
So
right.
I might give that a try.
I
That's where
remember
Richard
what.
Vogt gets his from.
Oh, okay. I remember watching a video. Oh, I don't know if you've come across his channel, Jeff Bites Cars.
Hmm.
You heard of him?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was
Yeah.
in the same
He's
WhatsApp group with him for a little while.
okay. He's a recovering vegan, as he calls himself. He used to be a vegan, and he said, when he got married, he was a vegan, and he said, looking back at the photos now of their wedding, he said, "My God, I
He
looked
looked
ill,
ill. Yeah.
looked ill." And he's completely flipped 180. He's buying. He goes to like a local farm shop and buys, unpasteurized milk, straight from the tank, sort of thing, and he did a video on it, and the benefits of it was, it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
you know.
No, that is good.
And
That is amazing.
I've been drinking that all my life, so I'm still here.
That's
So
it. And you
yes,
look okay. You don't look undernourished. You look
no,
fine.
yes,
So that's
yes.
great.
But apart from having to go to the hospital this morning because I had a piece of I had something sort of welded into my eyeball, so they had to sort of cut that out because it started to heal over.
Oh, really?
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like a
But
splinter.
it was a piece
Hmm.
of no, it was like a piece of sand that had
Oh, was it sand?
forced,
Okay.
yeah, a piece of sand that had gone into the pupil and then and it hadn't come out and it started to heal over. So yeah, very sore, but we got it sorted.
No, well, listen, I'm very grateful, especially having gone through all that drama this morning, that you still managed to come on and speak to me. But
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. I hope it wasn't too daunting for you. Your camera is good. What
Yeah.
camera did you go for in the end?
Well, I've got see, one of my hobbies is um, photography. I love going
Okay.
out taking landscape photos. So I've got myself a Nikon Z7.
Oh, nice, nice.
So, but to do this here, I thought looking at the camera on the computer, which was terrible.
Mm.
I thought so I've had to buy like a microphone to go on the camera, a set of headphones, a cam link or something, and
Yeah, that's
HDMI
right, yeah.
cables and all that
Mhm.
business. So
Yeah.
it seems to be working okay.
No, that's really good. It's really good. And again, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and to learn about your business. And
Mhm.
yeah, thank you very much.